What is the dumbest customer complaint you've ever heard? Brought out chicken parmesan to a lady at the restaurant I work at. The lady takes a bite and asks if it's really chicken and the chicken parmesan. I say of course it is. She immediately breaks down crying because she's a vegetarian and asks to see a manager. At a garden center. Some of your plants are wet. Lady, why won't you let my child swim in the deep end? Me, because she can't swim. I used to be a lifeguard. This happened every single day. No, every single hour. Also my favorite. Pool wasn't deep enough to dive anywhere. Some young teenagers thought they were too cool and need not follow the strict no diving rules. We catch them. Tell them they have to sit out next time they do it. Of course. They think we were stupid and blind and do it again. We sit them out for 10 minutes. Kindly inform their parents why they are sitting out, and if they do it again, we will kick them out. Parent, good for you guys. They need to learn their actions have consequences. Thank the Lord. Somebody is on our side. Well, 10 minutes is up. The first thing these kids do is dive headfirst into the pool. Lifeguards to the kids, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the pool for the day. You dove headfirst into the pool numerous times after we already told you it was against the rules. Next time you come back, please do not dive headfirst into the pool. You could seriously injure yourself and possibly those around you. Lifeguards to the parent, I'm sorry, but your child dove headfirst again. We are going to have to ask you to leave the pool area for the day. Parents yelling, are you kidding me? I took the time to bring them to here so they could enjoy the pool. You guys are making this up. My kids are good kids. They would never do that. I'm never coming here again. They came the very next day. A guy accused me of harassing him because I kicked him out of the store after the third time he stole from us. He then called the cops. I'm working at Taco Bell during the Sunday after church rush, and we have a line so long people are waiting outside the store. A family of 3 make it to the counter, despite the fact that they had plenty of time to look at the menu board. The parents didn't know what kids meal to get their 3-year-old. Their options were a hard shell, soft shell or bean burrito. They kept changing their mind. After I rang it up, I can tell my manager is getting annoyed as she is working the hot table and knows we have a mass of people waiting. I tell the family, if you don't know what to order, please step to the side and let me know when you have decided. I can't have you holding up the line. That set off a shitstorm. Father, dressed in his Sunday best, started tearing me a new one in front of the entire crowd. He started calling me a low-life degenerate, a college dropout who probably can't make change, etc. 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 And he wasn't saying this quietly. I proceeded to wipe his order and start helping the next customer, because screw him. Once his order was wiped, he knocked over our cup display and shouted, now listen here you piece of shit. My manager walked from the line at that point and told him to get out of the store or she was calling the cops. He said, oh yeah, what are the cops going to do? The best moment of working fast food was my manager turning to the coral and saying, show of hands. Who here just witnessed this guy verbally assaulting my employee? Every single customer raised their hand. My manager then told him to get out and not to come back. He tried to come through the drive-thru about 30 minutes later. He ordered the same combos and a kid's meal. He got to the window and there stood my manager. Not going to happen. Keep driving, jackass. My manager was awesome. This food is too hot. I'd like it replaced with cooler food. Could be handled one of 2 ways. Call science professor. Wait for him to arrive with liquid nitrogen. Freeze food, hand back on plate. Or stand there and stare at the customer for 3 minutes and then exclaim, here you go, and hand back the original food. Worked in a sandwich wing place several years ago. Had a woman order hot wings for delivery. After they were delivered, she called raging that those hot wings made her baby cry. The manager politely offered to send her mild instead. I work at a bank inside of a grocery store. The customer was very upset that they couldn't buy their toilet paper and Doritos at the teller window. A woman managed to spill gasoline all over herself at the gas station I worked at and demanded we pay for new clothing. This cappuccino feels like it's half foam. I was working in a restaurant a few years ago. It was pretty late after closing, and I was waiting for the last table to finish eating so I could clean up not my table. In the meantime, I was doing some other closing work on the other side of the restaurant, talking to a coworker and glancing occasionally over my shoulder to see if they had left yet. The lady at the table comes up to me, demanding to see the manager. I say okay, not really grasping how angry she is, and go get him. She begins to rant about how my coworker and I were laughing about how she and her friends were dogs. In actual fact, my coworker and I were talking about how he was looking after another coworker's pets while they were out of town. In the empty restaurant, they had overheard a few random words and pieced together their own little puzzle. That my coworker and I had nothing better to do than talk shit about them says volumes about their self-image, I suppose. She unloads on our manager, who doesn't believe for a second that my coworker ran. I would even think, much less say anything like that about these women, knowing there has obviously been some misunderstanding. He calls us over, and I proceed to explain how we were having a conversation about a coworker's pets. I swear I saw a look of embarrassment flash over her eyes, but she just continued flipping out. My coworker and I left the scene so the manager could cool her down. But after calling us rude names for the better part of 5 minutes, she eventually just walked out without paying. Her friends followed her out a minute or two later, saying they aren't paying for her meal, but that we'll probably just force it through on one of their credit cards anyways. More embarrassing for her than out and out dumb, I suppose. But as far as unnecessary customer complaints go, that one was pretty over the top. I once had a shareholder complain that they only got their quarterly statement every 3 months. I once worked at a grocery store, and oftentimes at the customer service counter, which typically handles refunds, exchanges, complaints, and other odds and ends like cigarettes and lottery. This man comes up with a block of cheese still in its package. I ask how can I help him. Then, our conversation goes something like this. Customer, this is the wrong cheese. Me, alright. Would you like to exchange it for another kind of cheese, or would you prefer a refund? Customer, I don't want it. Me, okay. I'll put through the refund for you. I proceed to take the cheese, enter the refund into the computer, and hold out the money we owe him. Customer, what? Where's my cheese? I don't want a refund. Me, so you want your cheese back? Customer, yes. I proceed to ring the cheese back into the computer, put the money back in the till, and give him his cheese back. Customer, where's my money? Me, you said you wanted your cheese instead of a refund. So I rang it through again. Customer, but it's the wrong kind of cheese. Me, so you want to exchange it? Customer, no. I don't want to bother with it. I'm just telling you it's the wrong kind. Me, so what do you want me to do? This still perplexes me, but he ended up throwing a little hissy fit and took his wrong cheese home again. I worked at an Italian restaurant and received a complaint that we didn't have a burger and fries option on the menu. We ran out of medium-sized fountain drink cups at the place I work at, so we were giving out large ones instead for the price of a medium. A lady flipped out and demanded that she get the drink for free since it wasn't the size that she wanted. I used to work security at a casino, and a man and woman came up to me and told me there was a man following them. I asked if they knew him and they replied, yeah, he's the loan shark we borrowed $2,500 from 2 weeks ago. Needless to say, they were escorted safely to their car, then barred for a year. While working in retail, a woman who had come in the day before was furious that we had not bagged one of the items she had paid for. She claimed to have paid for 4 sets of boxes, but only 3 were in the bag. We looked up her receipt on our register and saw that we only charged her for 3. We even looked back at the security tape to see that she had only brought 3 to the register. After giving her a call back saying that she had only purchased and paid for 3, she blew up. Racial slurs, profanity, and threats were made about how we were scamming her. In 20 minutes, She came to the store with her receipt to prove that she paid for 4. We counted 1, 2 and 3. Instead of accepting the facts, she ripped up the receipt and said that she paid for 4. She started knocking down clothes on the racks on her way out and demanded her set of boxes. The owner just gave it to her and told her not to come back. A woman wanted me fired from my job because she thought I photoshopped extra freckles onto the model in her picture. Why the duck would I do that? She said I did it to deliberately piss her off when she was going through a family crisis. WTF. I had never met her before. So my manager told her that he was sorry she was having a bad day, but to get the duck out of his store. I work at a library. Patron comes in and knocks books off their shelves. Turn to me and says pick them up. I pay your salary. I used to work at Staples. Customer called and complained the disk drive in their new laptop wasn't reading any disks. I asked a few questions over the phone, like is the disk upside down? And does the disk work in other computers? She yells back at me, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not an idiot. I want this fixed. So I tell her to come in. We can replace it, since it's under the 14-day return policy. Mind you, I'm pissed off, since I tried to be helpful over the phone. And she yells at me. So she comes into the store and puts the laptop on the counter saying it doesn't work. I asked, can you just show me what you're doing so I can make sure? She turns on the laptop, opens the disk tray, puts the CD on top. She doesn't even snap it into the ducking tray, just lays it flat on top and says, see, it doesn't work. I want a new one. I snap it into the tray, close it and tell her your laptop is fine and walked away. My coworker standing next to me had to finish it up. I was so dumbstruck. Too long, didn't read. Don't yell at me because you don't know how to operate a ducking computer. I used to be a mechanic. Lady calls in one day saying that she needs a new radiator. She has it in her car and is on the way to get it replaced. Apparently the shop she trusts diagnosed it, but we were closer and she really needed to get it done. She emphasized several times that she was in a rush, as in I'm in a rush. I need you guys to get this done as fast as possible. I have so many important things to do. Blah 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 etc. How much is the labor going to cost me? My boss, the quick thinking guy that he is, pulled up her info and told her that the radiator paid 2.5 hours. So it was going to be around 250 in labor. She said that was okay and that she'd be there in around 20 minutes. Now usually we were a pretty busy shop, but that day we were deader than on Friday night. So the head techs flipped a coin to see who was going to get paid. And they and I all were going to pitch in anyways because we wanted to get this lady in and out and we were bored as heck. So the lady pulls in. My manager and head tech go out to greet her and she tosses the keys at them and says get it done as soon as possible. So the head tech pulls it in. In an awesome display of teamwork and skill, we take a still steaming radiator and replace it with the brand new one she had within an hour. So the head tech pulls the car around and we go in with smiling faces to talk to her and thank her for our business and generally be proud of ourselves. Alas, this was not to be. The lady was pissed. Super pissed. As in she was screaming at our manager about how we cheated her, we screwed her over, and we were gonna get sued by her lawyer husband, etc. etc. So he of course relayed to her that we were very slow and she expressed a need for urgency. We did our best and had 3 techs working on her car to get it out as fast as possible. He showed her the old radiator and reminded her that she watched us pull the old radiator out and put the new one in. She screamed that she wasn't paying any money because we had obviously cheated her on money because we did the job too fast. My manager, who is normally a very kind and understanding guy, had experienced quite enough of this lady's attitude. He told her that she had 2 choices. 1, he could call the cops and tell them that she refused to pay for services rendered. 2, with a devilish smile on his face, or we could replace the radiator with the old one free of charge. She decided to take the second option. We were sitting just outside the waiting area listening to her wail like a banshee. Our manager comes back out and says, hey, you guys want lunch? You know that Chinese place you guys like so much? but it takes forever for them to get you your food. Why don't you guys go there and eat in my treat? He hands us a wad of money and tells us to go. After we left, this is according to him, but I believe him due to her evil glare. Whenever we came back, he went back in and informed her that all the techs went on their mandatory lunch break and wouldn't be back for an hour. After we came back, funny enough, it took us 2 hours to put that old leaky radiator back in. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,